Nick Saban, Wayne Gretzky, Joe Montana, Sawyer Robertson. What do these four have in common? We'll tell you on Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by Gametime and part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I'm your host, Cam Stewart of ESPN Central Texas and The Cam Show on YouTube, Rogue Media Sports Network. Appreciate y'all making this your first listen today and every day. And boy, are we still basking in the glow of a big-time Baylor Bears victory out there in Lubbock. We'll talk about Sawyer Robertson's incredible homecoming, what this win means for the head coach and where it almost went wrong in the middle of all that, and the unlikely hero who might just have saved Baylor's season if they can keep this going. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. Starting first, I'll say it again. Nick Saban, Wayne Gretzky, Joe Montana, Sawyer Robertson. What do these guys have in common? Well, they've all now had very memorable homecoming games. Nick Saban goes back to LSU, big-time overtime victory for Alabama when he went there in whatever that was, 07 or 08. Wayne Gretzky knocks the Oilers out of the playoffs first round the year after he gets traded to the Kings, coming back from a 3-1 series deficit. Joe Montana has an awesome game back in San Francisco. You can add, Tom Brady going back to New England. You can add Baker Mayfield going back to Tech. And you can also have Sawyer Robertson going back to Lubbock. He mentioned that a bunch of his family was up there in the stands, and some of them were wearing Tech gear or It's Complicated shirts, because a lot of them have been Tech season ticket holders for a long time. He went to Lubbock Coronado High School right down the road, and this could very well have been Tech's next starting quarterback. They went with Baron Morton, who is having a good year, but Sawyer Robertson absolutely made them pay. Before we get into this great Sawyer performance, what did the quarterback think of his return trip to Lubbock?
It means a lot. Obviously, having family and friends up in the stands that don't normally get to come watch me play. But outside of that, it was just another game. Just because, if I sit here and say that this game was more important than the other ones, that implies that the other ones aren't as important. And I know that's not the case. But it was cool having everybody in the stands today and to have that kind of game and to get out of here with the win.
Humble as ever, humble leader, Sawyer Robertson. That game meant a little bit more, and that's okay, Sawyer. We know you were taking the other game seriously. There's no doubt about that. But how could this not mean more? This is like his backyard, and twice, Tech had opportunities to bring in Sawyer Robertson. They did not extend a hand either time. Didn't even get an offer out of high school, according to 247. Didn't even get an offer. He's right in their backyard, 4-star quarterback. How does that happen? Or at least not a serious offer from Matt Wells. And then he goes to the transfer portal for Mississippi State. Joey McGuire's there now. They say, we're all set again. Putting our eggs in the Baron Morton basket for the second time in 3 years. So Sawyer Robertson, all he does is go back there at the first time of asking, playing Tech as the starter, who didn't even start the season as the starter. He goes back to Lubbock and goes 21 of 32, 274 yards, and 5 touchdowns. 5 of them. 5 touchdowns. The most by a Baylor quarterback in almost a decade. One of the best quarterback performances that Baylor's had in a decade. And destroys them. And their homecoming, by the way, 59-35 the final, and it was not that close. It really wasn't. Tech needed to score, 2 unanswered touchdowns at the end to make it 59-35. That was an absolute shellacking. Just took them to the woodshed, completely out of nowhere. A team that has lost 3 in a row and had not won a conference game in 364 days. They just waltzed into Lubbock, tied for the top of the Big 12 standings. Texas Tech Red Raiders coming off a bye as well. And Baylor just crushed them. Just absolutely crushed them. And Sawyer Robertson was a huge reason why. Josh Cameron helped as well. 3 touchdowns receiving. The run game helped as well. Bryson Washington, 116 yards in the ground, a balanced offense, a good defensive effort. 35 points doesn't look great, but there was some garbage time in there. There were a lot of twos in there in the fourth quarter. They all deserve credit, but this has got to feel sweet for Sawyer Robertson. And the players were saying it after the game. Josh Cameron and Matt Jones had said it as well after the game of like, yeah, we knew that was going to mean a lot to him. And Sawyer went out there and made sure that everyone would remember it. And I said this in the postgame show, number one Baylor football postgame show, by the way, no huge deal, about a friend of mine who had texted me who he went somewhere else, doesn't watch a lot of Baylor football, but keeps track of it because he knows I follow it. And he was like, man, this reminded me of the Bryles days. And for the first time, probably since Art Bryles was fired, I was like, you know what? It kind of did. It felt like what the conference games felt like when Art was the head coach and they had some of the best offenses in the country. That's what quick strike ability, playing a little soft on defense at the end. It's both teams are scoring a lot of points and it takes 4 hours. That's what it felt like in that game on Saturday. And looking specifically at the second half, they had 5 straight touchdown drives, and 4 of those were under 2.5 minutes. You add in 1, 2, 3 more touchdown drives in that game that were under 2 minutes. So that's 6 that are under 2.5 minutes. That's incredible. And a field goal drive that only took a minute off the clock. That's the one where they started inside the red zone. But that's what the Jake Spavital offense was supposed to look like. They got good penetration in the running game. They actually ran some wide zone things, which is interesting. And they took shots when the shots were there. But other than that, Sawyer Robertson just took care of the football, got it down the field, and once again, exposed zone coverage when he needed to. He also had a couple of darts over the middle in man coverage, specifically that 2-minute drill before halftime, which to me was a tremendous moment for this offense and for Sawyer Robertson's career. We're actually going to talk about that in the next segment, but just an incredible, he's humble. He's going to say, it's just another game, but of course that had to mean more. And as good a season as Baron Morton is having, I think there were Tech fans in my comment section last week saying, no, you're overhyping it. He's actually not been that great this year. And I just got to imagine what that faction of Tech fans were thinking when Sawyer Robertson was just slicing and dicing and cooking them up for 4 quarters, 3.5, because you had to bring in Daquan Finn and he ran in for a touchdown too. Gave Sawyer Robertson the rest of the day off. Like that has got to just stick in them and just be like, man, how did we not pursue this kid? Twice they had a shot at him. You don't think Sawyer Robertson would have loved to go play for Tech, the team he grew up rooting for, team his family has season tickets for? They ignored him twice. They went for the other local kid. And then stuck with a couple other quarterbacks who were no longer with the program before last season. Donovan Smith, Tyler Shuck, both not there anymore. And they think, oh man, we really could have had Sawyer Robertson to Micah Hudson connection for 3 years. Nope. No, you can't. And he is going to prove to you why that was a colossal mistake. Boy, he keeps getting better week after week. And that was a really satisfying win, I know, for him, for his teammates, obviously, and for all of us watching specifically for him. I mean, it was obviously really satisfying for the whole team. It's been a while since we've had a win like that to talk about. And, obviously for everyone, it was great. But there was a lot on the timeline yesterday and some of it in the broadcast too. And Sawyer made sure he was telling the fans, maybe some of his friends and family in the stands, how many he had thrown. I think there was a 4 at one point and a 5 at one point. Like, that is beautiful. That thing was a thing of beauty. What a homecoming for Sawyer Robertson. And what a day it was for Dave Aranda and his Bears. That was a big one on Saturday. And there was a point where it almost went wrong. Let's take a look at what that point was and what this win means for Dave Aranda and company. But first, today's episode is brought to you by ZBiotics. ZBiotics Pre Alcohol drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. So just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Because whenever I have it before drinking, I really notice that Sunday morning is not coming down as hard the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on whatever I need to do. Church, Patriots, picking myself back up off the ground after watching the Patriots, everything. And it helps out with that. So here's how you do it. Step 1, you drink the ZBiotics, all right? The pre-alcohol. You do that first. Step 2, drink responsibly. Step 3, enjoy the next day. Go to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is back with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off. What a win it was for the Baylor Bears. 59-35 out there at Tech. Again, their first conference win in 52 weeks, 364 days. Been a long time since Baylor went out there and got a conference win. It allowed me to use a great Anna Nalick video from the song Breathe on Twitter, but you guys are not here for that, so we'll move on past that. But of course, a lot of people saying, oh, now you guys aren't going to be saying you want to fire Dave, huh? Oh, a whole lot of crickets now. It's like, it's a good game. It's a good game. Good game plan by Dave. Good game plan by Jake Spavital. Does it change much in the grand picture of that? No, but it's something to build off of. And look, I'm not pulling any negatives from this one. This was of nothing but positives in this victory. And in fact, I really liked what Dave did towards the end of that game. It was probably right after they had scored. They had gotten to 35. So again, scored on back-to-back drives to get there. Tech did. And after a TV timeout, they had the camera on Dave Aranda, and he had huddled the whole team around, and he was berating them. Like he was really laying into them about basically that's not the way that we're supposed to finish games. And there was a point that it sounded like he needed to make that point earlier in the game because there was a crucial juncture in the beginning of the second half where it almost went wrong for Baylor. And I think there were some of us who were probably feeling that too. And it's something that has gone wrong for them so many times this year. And this time it didn't. And that's where you need to start. But here's what Dave Aranda said that moment was.
I go back to the end of the first half. We score a touchdown. We get the ball to start the third quarter, the second half. One of the biggest predictors in football is, winning the middle eight when you can score at the end of the first half and then score again at the start of the second half, the third quarter, right? If you can do that, then your win percentage goes way up. And so we've talked about that, and we know that, and we're ready for that. And we show up and go, I don't know if it's 3 and out, and then defensively with the calls we've been running all game long, we can't get aligned. And offensively, they go down the field and score. So the exact opposite in every way of what we had talked about or planned or repped for and all that. And so that has been happening this season. And so there it was again, But in the face of that, right, to not fold and to continue to kind of throw punches and get over the hump and score a touchdown and stop them and then score again and widen the lead, that's something that we haven't done. So I think once you do that, becomes easier to do that. And so we're hoping for that.
Once you do that, it becomes easier to do that. And we're hoping for that. That is the perfect Dave Aranda quote right there. But he makes a great point in here. And I'll actually bump it back even further for a positive note for Baylor because they give up that touchdown with just under 2 minutes. There's that trick play. Conyers, the tight end, threw a touchdown for Tech. Just under 2 minutes to play in the first half. Baylor has their timeouts. They have all 3 timeouts, and they get the ball starting the second half. And I actually tweeted out there, I was like, this is a big moment for Baylor. Like, and in the back of my mind, yeah, I was thinking, like, don't mess this up. How are they going to mess this up? But I was like, this is a crucial juncture of the game. And they handled it damn near perfectly to end the first half. Sawyer makes some great throws. One of them is that absolute frozen rope to Ashton Hawkins in the middle of the field. And then he has a beautiful dump off, like basically a jump pass to Richard Reese when the pocket collapses on him. That goes for 25 yards. And then he finds Michael Trigg down to the goal line, down to like the 1 yard line. Flag. OPI, Michael Trigg. Backs him up to the 34-yard line with 30 seconds left. That's a killer. I mean, that knocks you out of field goal range right there. Obviously, you got some time to get back in, but you went from being at the 1 yard line to being at the 34. So from sure touchdown range to not even points range probably, and you only have 30 seconds. And then the next play takes 17 seconds, and you only get a couple yards. And Baylor handled that adversity. This offense handled it, and Sawyer Robertson handled it, and he makes plays. He actually throws to Michael Trigg again, gets it down to the 6 yard line, 8 seconds left. They call their final timeout. Despite what you heard on the commentary, that was a perfect time to call it because you're only throwing to the end zone there. And then they execute it. They throw a touchdown to Josh Cameron with 2 seconds left. Perfect execution at the end of that half. They handled adversity, and they executed perfectly. That's something they haven't done all year. At times, it's been pulling teeth just to have one of those things. And they handled it. Then they come out second half, and he was right. They went 3 and out. 3 plays, 44 seconds. And Tech went down there and scored a touchdown. And so all of a sudden, it's a 3-point game. Let's look at how Baylor responded after that. The next 6 drives to end, they only had 6 more drives in the half. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. Kneel, game over. That's the final 6 drives of the game for them. 5 straight touchdown drives and 6 of 7 if you go back to that last drive of the second half. I mean, perfect. And again, I'll go back to what we said before. They churned down the clock in that first touchdown drive after the 3 and out, 5-minute drive. And then 53 seconds, 2:01, 2:19, 50 seconds. All found the same thing, touchdowns every time. And the big place where it turned was that second touchdown drive of the second half because, all right, you go 3 and out, then you score the touchdown. Tech gets the ball back. They need to score again. Interception, only Barron's 3rd of the year. Great play by Caden Jenkins, baiting him into the throw. And then they go down and score in 53 seconds. And then the game is over. The game is over from that point. So we went from, oh, man, typical Baylor. They missed that opportunity to do the double whammy. They go 3 and out to start the second half. Tech goes down and scores. We get a ball game. They might not have the lead again to a blowout, an absolute laugher. 5 straight touchdown drives. When was the last time Baylor did that? Like Albany 2 years ago? 5 straight touchdown drives? Good Lord. That was an absolute, it was a beatdown. And the way that Baylor handled adversity in this game is, I think, the biggest source of hope. The other ones being the fact that they showed you that they could put 4 quarters together on offense and defense and beat a good team on the road, and that they could establish the run, and guys are executing plays, and the play calling looks that much better. All those things too. But the way they handled adversity in this game, to me, was just super impressive because it shows a lot about that locker room. Of course, they need to keep doing it going forward. This is not, we were saying this after the UCF game last year in the biggest comeback in Baylor history, and then it bottomed out. So that they did not use that momentum going forward. But they saw that it was kind of all on the line here. Their coach's job is on the line every week, and therefore all their coaches' jobs, and therefore their roster spots in this new era of the transfer portal. And they went out there and they answered the bell big time in this game. And they can thank a walk-on player in large part for that, which is pretty amazing. It's someone you probably don't know on this Baylor football team. I didn't know him either, but he might have just saved Baylor's season. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Baylor. First, I got to tell you about Game Time. Look, now we're in it, guys. Homecoming Saturday against Oklahoma State. That looks like a winnable game. In fact, Baylor comes out as favorites to open on Monday. So it's time for you to get out there, get some tickets. Game Time is the only place I go to get mine. All right. You go in there, you can toggle the all-in pricing tool. So the price you see is the price you're going to pay. No hidden fees there. Plus, you get to see the view from your seats before you hit purchase. So maybe you want to avoid the sun. I don't know. I would. Or you're like, ooh, that's actually right next to the visiting fan section. You can actually see that before you hit purchase. Or maybe you want to sit right next to the Oklahoma State fans. Plus, it's backed by the lowest price guarantee, where Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege, COLLEGE, for $20 off, and download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. There are so many people to highlight for this awesome Baylor victory. And there's so much madness going on in the Big 12 now. Baylor right in the thick of it this week. But really, who Dave Aranda basically credited after the game was someone you've probably never heard of. I hadn't heard of him. Hand up. I watched every snap of this football team for like the last 10 years. I don't know who this player is. His name is Michael Allen. Okay. He is a walk-on. He's played mostly special teams. He is from Stillwell, Kansas, and he's a redshirt sophomore. Outside of that, I got nothing. But what he might have done is he might have saved Baylor's season, because this win certainly is the foundation towards saving your season and potentially going to a bowl game. That's a long way away. But right now, it's a great win. It's something to build off of. And it's something you haven't been able to get the last few weeks and pretty much all of last year. So how did Michael Allen fit into this? Because he didn't see the field against Tech on Saturday. Well, let's let Dave Aranda tell you.
Last night, we had, we have a meeting prior to everyone going to sleep, and we have Michael Allen speak to the team. And Michael's a walk-on, and Michael's on a bunch of special teams, and Michael's someone that just carries so much respect, from guys that are playing a lot to guys that are freshmen to coaches, just everything. So when Michael got up there, it's just like so quiet. And Michael he went ahead and told the truth, told about where we are in the season, how important this game is, and what can be possible and what we need to do. And I had a thing planned after Michael talked, but he did such a great job, I didn't even talk, And I think what was so cool is that we did the things that Michael talked about. And I think when it comes from players, like I say, just so much stronger than when it comes from other sources.
What did Michael Allen say? And apparently, why didn't someone say it long ago? Because we were all kind of asking in the post game, all the reporters that were there were kind of like, where did this come from? And all of us fans were saying that too. We were saying it in the post game. Where did this come from? And so, yeah, okay, maybe that's nitpicking. Why didn't this come earlier? But apparently, Michael Allen just absolutely gave them the rundown of what they were doing wrong. And it speaks to, one, the beauty of college football, which we've talked about a lot, the walk-on thing. Of course, a walk-on had a great game in Josh Cameron. But the fact that he is able to get up there, a kid who does not play, okay, has not recorded a tackle this year, recorded his only career tackle in a game last year, and is able to undress the whole team and say, this is not good enough. We need to do this, this, and this, and we're wasting these opportunities. And whatever it is he said, but whatever it is he said clearly was very powerful, because we have not seen a performance like that from Baylor in a Big 12 game in years. Like even 2021, I mean, that was a really, really good team. Did they have a dominant performance like that? I don't know, man. I don't know. But it's something that apparently needed to be said because that was as good as we've seen Baylor in a long, long time. So thank you to you, Michael Allen, who could well be Baylor's Rudy Rudiger. Michael Allen, the walk-on that is inspiring this team and taking them to new heights. I can give you the entire biography here of Michael Allen in like a hiccup. He played in 6 games last year. Saw action against Tech, Iowa State, Houston, Kansas State, TCU, and West Virginia. In 2022, he redshirted. He made his collegiate debut versus Albany that year, the season opener. Guess what? In high school, he played for Coach Alan Terrell at Blue Valley High School in Stillwell, Kansas. And he helped the Tigers to an 8-2 record as a senior. He tallied 105 tackles as a senior and also had 3 picks. Man, that's big time. What did he say? What did he say to these guys? In fact, I can't even, I would love to put this as a separate segment, which I probably will on YouTube. There's no picture of Michael Allen that I can use in our whole database of USA Today. There's no picture of him. There's also not nearly enough pictures of Baylor from this Tech game, so bear with me on the thumbnails this week. But what did he say? Because now we're looking at a real opportunity for Baylor to turn its fortunes around. Like a real tangible opportunity, which we'll talk about later on this week as it goes by. But Oklahoma State at home, TCU at home, West Virginia on the road. They've never won there, but look at how West Virginia played on Saturday. Houston, Kansas. There's an avenue here. There's absolutely an avenue here. And are we going to be thanking a walk-on special teamer who was 1 career tackle for turning around this team and potentially saving Dave Aranda's job? Maybe, exclamation point. That's what we're talking about here. I'll take it from wherever we can get it. I mean, thank you to you, Michael Allen. I mean, make him do the pregame speeches. I don't care. I mean, maybe Dave Aranda will do that because he was like awestruck. He didn't even talk after Michael did, even though he was supposed to. He's like, you know what? Michael actually hit all the points there. I got a penny for what he said, man. To be a fly on the wall of that team meeting and hear what he said. Oh, that would be fantastic because, again, I mean, what we saw was an absolute eruption from Baylor against Tech on Saturday. To say it was out of nowhere would be an understatement. Because, again, I mean, even like a somewhat comfortable win is out of nowhere from what they did for 3 straight weeks and have done for a season and a half. But what you got was one of the most comprehensive beatdowns in the Big 12 that they've had in a long time, years. And someone named Michael Allen might be the reason why. Wow. It can be anyone on this team. It can be anyone on this team. It's time to move forward with it. What do you think Michael Allen said? Please drop that in the comments below. I'm really intrigued what you think Michael Allen said to them. Because I have no idea. Penny for the thoughts of Michael Allen. Truly. And we will probably never know exactly what he said in that meeting. Just those guys that were in there. Anyway, let me know what you thought about this Baylor victory, about Sawyer Robertson's homecoming, what this does for Dave Aranda's job. I'm intrigued to hear what the fans think about that. Obviously, it doesn't save his job from what it was before, but I'm intrigued to hear what you guys think about the game plan. I thought both he and Spavital had tremendous games. Really, I thought they both were great. Nothing to nitpick there. So let me know what you think about that, about the job security and how that might have changed after this Tech win. And let me know what you think about what Baylor can do going forward. Again, we're going to kind of hit that throughout the week about the road ahead, because now we can finally kind of take the good from a game the week before and still move forward. But we will be obviously covering Oklahoma State all week. We'll take a look tomorrow at some of the other things that really contributed to this outstanding Baylor victory. Get involved in the comments section. Be sure to like and subscribe. Ring that notification bell to get notified every time we're dropping a video on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, 5 days a week for free. And then post-game, #1 Baylor football post-game coming up right after every Baylor football road game and a little bit after every home game, because I'm there for those. Anyway, thank you so much for making it your first listen today and every day. Super appreciate you guys. And and we'll see you tomorrow on Locked On Baylor.